Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. As always, today we've got another Cardano focused show. In fact, we're talking about Gero Wallet, and we've got Shawn Roller, one of the co-founders of the project, here to talk about all things Jiro, actually in celebration of the birthday of the project. So Shawn, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear it. So the biggest thing that I think people are curious about is maybe to recap, what you've accomplished so far for the project. Like where are we at today? What are some of the milestones that you've hit so far? And then we can kind of look to the future and talk about what's next.
Yeah, so we've been through a lot. It's been an entire year right now, and so I think most notably is we do have that Cardano extension out there,
Hmm.
and so we've kind of built that out and added a lot of features to it. So of course you can store, receive, send your Cardano, your CNTs, your NFTs. You can also stake to any stake pool that is registered.
Hmm.
We have some features such as like wallet customization, personalization, like you can change the name and colors and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And we've done a lot of optimization with the wallet as well. So improving the design and also the backend. So we've done a lot of backend changes to try and improve the performance. So
Hmm.
I think most of the light wallets have learned some lessons along the way. And there's been some restrictions in the infrastructure, so we've put a lot of efforts into that for future proofing. But I think, of course, we will have to do additional work in the future. And I mean, we also have ADA handle support. I love ADA handle. I think that's a really
Nice.
nice feature. And yeah, I think that's a quick recap of everything. I think the most important is what recently happened was we finally bridged from Ethereum. We bridged a token from Ethereum to Cardano. So very happy that we finally have done that.
Yeah, that's a big one. I think there were a lot of people over the, sort of this last maybe year and some change where a lot of projects in the Cardano space issued tokens on Ethereum as ERC20s just to kind of get off the ground. And it makes sense why projects did that. But it's now really cool to see projects like Jiro making their way back to the motherland, back to Cardano, and getting that token out there in people's hands natively on the Cardano mainnet. So that is significant. And if someone's watching this, right, looking at the wallet space around Cardano, there's been some rapid maturity sort of coming to that space, which I think is really important. And creating a wallet is not as simple as people might think it is, especially when it comes to enabling features like staking, delegation, and then something as simple as making a transaction. There are processes involved and complexities involved in packing up a transaction with the right outputs on a UTXO blockchain. So, hats off to you, Shawn, and maybe anecdotally from your team, like what are some of the challenges that you've faced in building this product out, retrospectively after your first year?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I already noted on the back end, so the infrastructure. So I think
Hmm.
it was about January with Sunday's launch, and there was several other, um, you know, congestion issues with
Hmm.
the blockchain. There was just a whole lot going on, and it just it hadn't scaled yet. So
Hmm.
I think we learned a lot of lessons there. We made a lot of big changes on the back end. We were utilizing a lot of block frost, and then um, moved to Firehose, or at least a large portion of it. We are more dependent on Firehose, and then even recently we've actually integrated some of the freeloaders open source infrastructure. Um, and so those are some of the back end challenges that we've learned. I think with myself, like handling a lot of the app operations, so I don't necessarily handle the dev end side of things, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of lessons to learn about front facing. And I think even if you look, maybe I know we've done an interview before,
Hmm.
and I think maybe if you look at this interview and compare it to the last interview, I'm probably a little bit more confident, or maybe the vision is a little bit more clear.
Right.
So I've learned a lot about front facing and marketing and messaging and media and stuff like that. Um, and so those are the things that really come to mind as far as challenges and lessons. But there's so much more. It's literally every day that we learn a lesson. So
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I mean, 1 year in, right? It's like if you look thinking back a year for me right now in this space, I'm like, wow, that went by like lightning. But it also still you realize how much work can get done in a year and makes you feel better for the next year. having all those lessons learned to go in and build something new. So that being said, what is the path forward for you here? I think the big one that everyone asks about when the topic of Gero Wallet comes up is the mobile app side. So can you give an update there and kind of give people a feel for what that looks like?
Yeah, we are prioritizing mobile apps. I actually was tinkering around with it yesterday on my phone, and I have to say that it feels really, really great on the phone. So much better than the extension. Like there's a lot of limitations with
Yeah.
the extension, but on the phone it just feels right. And so I'm very excited to put that out. And fingers crossed, the beta will be coming out this month. That's what we're gearing for. So it's mobile apps this month or or die pretty much. So we're gonna try our hardest. So um, and so we're also gonna have a nice little secret feature into it. We have kind of announced the feature, but we haven't announced it's coming out so soon. So I'm just keeping that under wraps until we put it out. I think people will be really happy about it.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, I just I'm really looking forward to putting out those mobile apps.
Nice. Is it going to be a situation where you're looking at this mobile app launch as a beta, or are you going sort of full scale? Like here's our product. Of course, we're going to support it going forward. Like what's the thought in terms of how you classify it?
Yeah, so kind of the timeline that we have envisioned is we're doing some internal testing right now, and we'll
Hmm.
go back to the devs and apply those recommendations and bugs and fix the bugs and stuff like that. Then we're going to be putting out the testing to our NFT holders and our ambassadors for all
Hmm.
of the support, and then it's going to be opened up to a beta. So we want to make sure to kind of do this correctly.
Hmm.
So we want to open up to a beta, make sure everything's working well, collect a lot of that feedback, get those insights, and then apply it to the wallet, and then do kind of an official release on that. So it'll be an ongoing beta. Like we won't necessarily pull it away,
Hmm.
but as we'll update, we can kind of get to the point to where we feel like okay, we're at a live service, that sort of thing. So
Hmm.
there may not be a big difference between the beta and the live service, but there very well likely could be sort of bugs that pop up and issues that we need to fix along the way.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it comes to wallets, it's your main gateway to the blockchain. It's your main root of trust for security and often storing assets. And so it's really important that it's done properly. And that's why I always tell people, done right is better than done fast. And so definitely it's been good to see you guys taking your time with the launch. When it comes to the mobile app, like how do you think that will change maybe how people interact with the Cardano network as more wallets sort of shift to this maybe mobile first type of environment? Because I mean, Ethereum's a good litmus test for that because it started as all browser based wallets. There were no mobile wallets for a long time. And then mobile wallets started becoming more popular. And now I think a lot of people use mobile wallets. Like, what are your thoughts there from a philosophical perspective?
Yeah, I think it's going to be huge. Honestly, so many people use mobile apps, and I think part of our vision to be globally accessible,
Hmm.
that's what is in line with the mobile apps. So there's a lot of people that don't have access to maybe a laptop or a computer, but they have a
Hmm.
phone. They have an Android phone, and so this just allows for more accessibility to Cardano. And I mean, I see all the time in the chats like, I can't interact with this because I don't have access to my computer or I don't
Hmm.
have a computer or anything like that. So it's gonna open up so much more, and I think it's the right way to go.
Yeah, and in the emerging markets as well, there are, and I'm not going to say I have the stats just offhand in my brain, but I do know that as a general rule of thumb, more people have access to a phone, a relatively capable phone, than they do computers in markets in Africa, for example, which is a big sort of focal point, I think, for enablement and bringing financial services and access from a Cardano project perspective. So I think having more mobile wallets that are capable and easy to use will kind of help to further that goal. Um, so but kind of looking even further down the line, obviously the mobile app's a big one, and I think, and I meant to ask this, but I think it's Android first and then iOS. Or are you going both platforms at the same time?
Well, we're gonna do both at the same time, but
Hmm.
based on previous experience, Apple always takes longer to
Yeah.
certify. So my guess is Android will come out sooner. There's a decently sized certification process with
Hmm.
Apple. So um, fingers crossed they both come out at the same time, but it's likely that Apple will take a little bit longer.
Yeah, you never know with that. Sometimes it takes a couple tries to get something through on the Apple App Store. I mean, so once you have the Android and the iOS app out there, like what's next for you? Is it all feature focused? Maybe some DApp integrations potentially, or cold storage integrations? I mean, like where's your head at? Where's the Jiro team's head at on that stuff?
Yeah. So this brings out a good point actually. So I think after we get these mobile apps out, we start going into the dashboard phasing. So this
Hmm.
is what changes us from a wallet to more of an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Um, so we're looking at putting that out Q3, Q4 this year, getting that started with the dashboard. And what you can imagine with the dashboard will be at minimum, it'll have those basic wallet functionalities or like an extended view of the extension. So you'll
Hmm.
be able to move interchange of interchange between the extension and the dashboard back and forth, however you like,
Nice.
whatever view you want.
Hmm.
But on top of that, we'll have lots of other features. We're
Hmm.
going to have NFT staking. We'll have an NFT marketplace integrated. We'll have borrowing and lending integrated. And we'll be able to do a lot of these things with our partners that we've already made. Partners like Liquid and Indigo, and we're
Hmm.
talking to several more. Um, and so, I mean, there's so much more I could talk about the dashboard, but really the goal with the dashboard is to be able to bring everything all in one place, so that users don't have to navigate across several endpoints and complete several transactions, and all of their finances can be localized all in one place.
Understood. And this may be one step too deeply into the weeds, so feel free to tell me if it is. But this is just, of course, how my mind works. When you look at some like an integrated experience, which I think is very important for crypto, and I think to an extent, like going from MetaMask on desktop to on mobile, you can already kind of do that in a way if you have, first of all, if you're using hardware, which is the easiest way because then the fulcrum is your hardware wallet and you just connect it to either one. um, but looking at it from like a user experience perspective, because I know that's something that you're really invested in yourself. How do you balance that against the security requirements and things like that in managing what is effectively a signer, a hot wallet that people can send assets with?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we have Chris as a security expert, and he's always
Hmm.
there along the way to consult the devs and make sure that we put security at the highest. Um, and actually, I know I come from a UX perspective, but I believe security should be number one.
Hmm.
If we aren't able to be secure, then you know, what does the experience matter?
Yeah.
But ultimately, we put the user first, which is security and user experience.
Yeah.
And so every step along the way, if we can add security, we will, just to make sure we can, there's that user trust and clear
Hmm.
mind with the user. We get some feedback with the extension already that people really appreciate having to enter a password a little bit more than comparable wallets.
Hmm.
And but we do get some negative feedback there too. They don't like it. So there's a little bit of a trade-off.
Yeah.
And we kind of lean a little bit more on the security. We understand that it's kind of annoying to have to enter your password maybe an
Hmm.
extra time, but I think it's a lot better than losing your funds or making a mistake, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I like to say, and this is something I actually kind of got from a conversation I had with Alex Mashinsky from Celsius, which was that their app has an incredible amount of friction to just get on and do something, and we were both saying like friction in this case is really good because friction for you, who is the knowledgeable person on your application, your passwords, your 2FA setup, that's just more difficulty for someone who's trying to get into your account, move your funds without you knowing about it. That's more friction for someone who's trying to exploit. And so for wallets, it's worthy of sacrifice to sort of give up some of the convenience for security.
Yeah, I agree. I think some friction is okay.
Hmm.
I think it's about communicating what's going on and making people feel comfortable about it and
Yeah.
accepting it. So um, there can be friction in a bad way, but you can make the most of it as well.
Yes, yes, certainly. How do you feel about the sort of the trend now to heavy reliance on the inbuilt biometrics that are in phones now? Like, there's lots of fingerprint on Samsung. You've got the iris on some devices. Obviously, Apple is big on Face ID. Do you think that's an adequate replacement for that? Maybe a little bit more, a little bit higher degree of friction on typing a password out. Do you think it's a good replacement?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So I actually worked in a cybersecurity lab for a little while, and my understanding is that those biometric measures or preventions are actually a little bit less secure. But maybe if you can double up on it, I mean, I think that would be helpful. Also, my understanding with it is it's kind of separate. So like if we separate from the application, so if we were to accept that as kind of an unlocking feature, it's kind of something that you would set up through your phone and not so much through Gero Wallet. So we could facilitate that if somebody really wants it, but we wouldn't necessarily be the ones kind of controlling
Capturing.
it. Yeah, exactly, capturing it. So I think the best is 2FA, also with a password manager. I think lots of people use password managers. That's what I would recommend to use.
One wallet that I used to use, well, I think it was like a wallet, and then also had some exchange features. It was called Everledger, I believe, and they were one of the only, like, a few wallets that had YubiKey support.
Yeah.
So to unlock, you plug in your YubiKey, and now YubiKey has devices that are compatible with all phones. That would be sweet, right? I mean, I think that's a pretty solid thing. Of course, it's another piece of hardware people can lose, and I get that, but it's or I guess what people can gather by watching this is that this is a constant sort of iterative process of figuring out what works best from a security perspective, and then making that easy enough that people both like it and will continuously follow those best practices. So I don't know what your thoughts are on the YubiKey front, but I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, no, I like the YubiKey as well. I've used it on several laptops before. And I think it would be great to be able to facilitate that feature. If somebody wants to include that as a security measure, I think that would be great. I wouldn't want to require it. I think that that would not be good. But no, I think it's great. And in the future, I would love to be able to support that if we can. That may be, I'm not a developer, but I'm wondering if that may be kind of a hardware feature. Like you may have to apply that to the phone or laptop and not so much about the application. But I have a lot to learn about there. But it would be great to be able to support that.
Yeah, definitely cool stuff. And the theory around security balanced against UX is something that I think the crypto space is going to increasingly see as a focal point for maturity as we sort of move into the next phase, because we're moving away from people maybe like us, someone who's watching, or you or I, Shawn, that kind of are familiar with this space and willing to go the extra mile to have a wallet or to transact or to use DeFi. We're willing to learn all these little technical details. The vast majority of people aren't going to be. So how do we give them some security assurances, but make it really easy for them to do it? So I think it's great to have folks like Jiro that are really dedicated to doing that for Cardano, which is very complex, just in its design in general. So I think it's good to have that.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that came to mind is, we want to be as friendly as possible with security while providing trust, but at the same time, we don't want to block new users. And it's unfortunate that usually those new users are the ones that are most vulnerable. So really, they need the most security. Yeah. But if we add a lot of security, they may not even interact with the blockchain or give up on it, that sort of thing, and go back to their Visa card and their Chase account and stuff like that. So it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, it is. It is for sure. The newest users are usually the most vulnerable, the ones who are, of course, they just have less experience, and it takes time to get that experience. And I would hope that, at least personally, that experience does not involve a high value exploit or hack or mistake, like losing your seed phrase, something like that, or giving it up to someone online in a phishing attempt. So lots more room to grow, I think, is the motif or the theme that you can get from this. But Shawn, to sort of close out here, where can people follow Jiro and all the new stuff that's sort of coming out to celebrate the the birthday, the anniversary of the project, and sort of engage with you if they have ideas on features and things like that?
Yeah, I think we have the Twitter, so you can just search Gero Wallet. We also recently just put out a Discord, and then we have the Telegram, the Medium, and the YouTube as well. So if any of those are, your cup of tea, feel free to check it out. You can go to the website. We have links on the left side, and you can join there. We'll be sure to put out all of the announcements and all the content of this week on all of the endpoints there.
Beautiful. That sounds good. And I'll link all those things up in the description, make sure really accessible. And people, if you're listening to this on the podcast platform, there should also be a description there for you to click links if you want to go direct to these social media platforms and get connected with Shawn and team. So Shawn, thanks so much for joining, and happy birthday to Jiro. And thanks for sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on here. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. And we'll have to do this again. And for everyone who's watching and or listening, thank you so much for doing that. Please do hit the subscribe button. Give this video or this podcast a like if that's available on your platform, because we got tons more stuff coming. So thanks so much in advance. Until next time, cheers.